The next indicator we developed in the Forex specific portfolio for Tradestation and indeed all the other platforms as well is the currency array indicator. And I guess in a way that really describes what it is. It is an array of the 28 currency pairs. And the purpose of the indicator, it really builds on the other two, the currency strength indicator. You've got your currency matrix. Now you come to the currency array. And what the currency array reveals is the momentum in the strength of the particular trend, higher or lower. And that's represented visually. So again, we're in two currency pairs here. So if you like, this is a combination of the visual aspect of currency strength indicator with the technical aspect of the currency matrix, and now we're combining it into a visual array which actually gives you the strength of the trend. So when you look at the angle of any line here, it will tell you, obviously in a comparative way against all the other 27 pairs, the strength of that particular trend, therefore which is the strongest in a particular currency and currency pair, which is the weakest, and so on and so forth. And you see that across the time frames. Again, I've got multiple time frames here. It's on the 5 minute. We've got a 10 minute in the middle here, and over on the right hand side is a 15 minute. So it's really developed to give you that visual presentation of the strength of trend as it develops in real time on any particular time frame, from the 15-second right the way through to whatever time frame you're trading. The data is presented visually by the slope of the line, but it's also presented in this ranking ladder down here. So this ranking ladder of the pairs gives you a visual on which one's at the bottom, which one's at the top, and how they're moving up and down the particular ladder. Now, as before, we can isolate out. So if we just click on any one of these, let's isolate out on the pound. We still have very strong buying in the pound. And what the indicator also reveals, in the same way it does on the matrix, it tells you about the sentiment across the pound complex. So once again, we are looking at the pound complex. We're looking at these 7 pairs here. And we want to make sure that whatever we're doing, we are trading with the universal flow. We also want to see which is the strongest. We've got the pound New Zealand at the top and the pound yen. They are very strong. The pound Aussie less so, and the pound Swiss down here. And you can see here cable and the pound CAD are the least strong, if you will, in terms of bullish momentum. So in terms of strength of momentum, the strength of the trend, it will be most strongly defined on these two and less so on these. Now, if the bullish buying of the pound is going to continue across this complex for a little bit longer, what you actually want to see, and this is the beauty of the indicator, if you've ever seen a radar screen, well, I'll say old-fashioned, you see them obviously everywhere, a radar screen where it sweeps around through 360 degrees. This obviously doesn't go through 360, but what it does do, you will see these sweeping up, particularly if you have this on a faster time frame, you'll see these sweeping up. If the sentiment towards the pound is increasing and is developing further, you'll obviously see them moving up the ranking ladder here as you do on the matrix, but you'll also see it visually reflected in the way they sweep up and down. So you might have them sweeping up for bullish, and this might be sweeping down the other direction. I'm going to do another video on the yen because that's a great example of how to actually see this working real time. Let's just isolate out on the 10 minute here. Pretty much identical. We've got pound New Zealand, we've got pound yen. So really strong trends on there. Pound Aussie and the others are not quite so strong in the middle here. And let's go up to the 15. Let's check out what's happening there. It's exactly the same. So pound yen is really strong with the pound New Zealand. So it's pretty much universal. That is what is going on in the market right now. For whatever reason, the pound is being bought strongly pretty much across the complex. Less so in cable, less so against the Canadian, but very strongly against New Zealand and yen. And that is all reflected down here. And obviously you can isolate out, just click on, click off, and you can isolate in and out all the pairs as you go forward. Now the other column, the second column alongside, this is really giving you an indication of whether a currency pair is now either approaching an overbought state or an oversold state, or is actually at an oversold condition. And I use the word potential because that's what it is. It's giving you a heads up. It's saying, look, this currency has been moving in this direction very strongly. It's got to potentially an oversold situation. Now it may be an opportunity to look at it, to go and visit the chart, see what's happening, have a look at the volume profile. Are we moving to a particular region, a level where we've got maybe strong resistance overhead? It's all those aspects of technical analysis which then come into play, obviously. This ranking ladder reveals this in two different ways. First of all, in terms of any which are approaching that particular condition. Then you get the brackets around here with the, for overbought, OB, brackets around, and it's a darker blue. So on the pound Aussie, for example, it's still in the dashed line. That is approaching an overbought state. The reason these are solid is because they are at an oversold, an overbought condition. So once it goes solid, it's actually flagging up to you that the overbought, there is potentially an overbought state there. Equally down at the bottom, you'll see here, these are oversold, approaching oversold conditions. They are darker red with the brackets. Once they reach a potential oversold condition, then they will change to a solid color, and this will a solid line rather, and this will be a bright red, and the brackets will disappear. Just click that back on again, so we've got them all up there. And it's exactly the same over on any other time frame. We've got a couple up here, so basically it's saying the same as we've got on 5. We've got overbought conditions here, potentially setting up on the pound New Zealand and the pound Aussie. You'll be off to the chart, look at that if you've not been involved with the trend so far in this uptrend, which has been pretty strong. Then you'd be looking at potentially a reversal. And as I highlighted in the currency strength indicator videos, when you're looking at this as a potential reversal, that's perfectly fine. We're looking at it from a currency pair perspective. But again, if you're going to trade reversals, it requires patience and it requires a wider stop loss, more risk on the table, in other words. You can see that as I'm talking, these are still pushing higher. You can see it visually. We're still pushing up, pushing up, pushing up. So it looks as though we're not done yet. Let's just isolate that back out again. And it's still rising, still very strong. You can see the pound New Zealand there clicking up as well. So this is a very, very strong move in the pound, and obviously it's reflected down here in euro pound by equally strong buying there, the euro pound down at the bottom. So it's a very powerful indicator. I'm going to do another video to show you what I was talking about earlier about this sweeping mechanism. So it gives you a lot of visuals. It gives you strength of trend. It tells you which are the strongest, which are less strong. It also reveals which currency pairs are approaching potentially overbought or oversold conditions or are at oversold conditions. You can see here this has just arrived at an oversold condition on the 10-minute for the euro pound on that particular time frame. So there we are. It's a very powerful indicator, and it gives you all this information. And again, very visual, very intuitive, and you don't have to have hundreds of charts open to give you all this information. You get it all on this one charting, or one workspace rather, and it's all there, giving you the visuals, guiding you to which currency pairs have some trend left in them. For example, if we go back to the pound, you may be looking at the pound yen, the pound New Zealand. You may think, well, do you know what? That's had a strong trend. Not so comfortable with that. But if the pound CAD and the pound dollar and the pound Swiss are going to move up to join them, there may be some trend left in there. If this pound buying is going to continue, and obviously you'd be looking at the CSI, you'd be looking at the matrix as well. If that pound buying is going to continue, you want to see these ticking up as well. There may be something left in that trend. And indeed, what you also find is that you find buying of a particular currency rotates from one to another. So once this has got to a particular level where you've had a very strong trend, what you often find is that buying continues, but it continues into a different pair. So you might find it continuing in the pound Aussie. You can see it ticking up here, and you'll see it over here. It's up at the top here. Pound Swiss, we want to see this rising up here as well. Pound CAD, pound dollar down here. We want to see these moving up the ranking ladder, and they're sweeping up so that we've got all of them at the top here. We want to see this pushing even lower, perhaps a little bit. So it's a fascinating indicator, very powerful to use, will help you in your forex trading enormously. Hope you've enjoyed this particular video, and thanks for watching. See you again soon, and bye for now.